What do you
So much controversy. I can't believe it regarding the last episode. Very surprising.
really surprised? I wasn't surprised.
No, because all of a sudden we were divided into Team Graham and Team
Halbuni.
Halbuni.
طيب, so I divided you last week.
Oh, you divided us.
Yeah, obviously. Where was Team Ayubi? So I was the person.
You were the convener. Like, you were like the umpire.
No,
You
let's
know
be
me.
honest. Our team Ayubi.
No. Don't say it was amalgamated into
Yeah,
team.
our team was 2-in-1.
No.
So-
See, I knew what I was going to
But
say.
he's got to say, I've got to agree with him. Was automatic.
Okay, how about if I tell you, and me being humble and honest, many people, more than one person, which makes it many people,
Yeah.
not thousands
Not
and
many
thousands
people,
as
two
Trump
people,
says.
by the way.
You know how Trump says
Is
thousands?
many 3 or more?
Yeah,
I don't
Because
if
I
he's
know a
hit the
couple
many.
is 2 or more.
that's
That's
right.
what I know.
No, a couple is two.
So were you in a
few
couple or a
is
many?
three or more. Many.
I
But not thousands of thousands as Trump says. You know,
Yeah.
it says thousands and thousands. Everything.
It reminds me of that lolly that we used to have on top of our ice creams, hundreds of thousands. You know, the little rainbow sparkles?
yeah.
lost his.
What?
He said, they said, I'm on Team Graham. And then,
Who's they?
wait.
What? We have access to the direct messages
I
too.
had two people.
I'm talking about my,
Two people
my
with it.
personal account, and they called me and
But
they
it-
messaged me privately.
But you would have flaunted it. You would have showed us.
No, I don't, like, I don't like to flaunt. And one of them said,
Yeah.
he's a big fan.
Yeah.
He said,
He's a big fan of the Mustafa Krayem show.
no.
Yeah. Of his podcast.
His
podcast.
If you guys
when
only
it
knew,
comes to the whatchamacallit,
if
it's his
everyone
podcast.
only knew what he was saying right before
Look,
We press record.
we press record
I am considering it's a goal of mine.
to have your own podcast and leave
Yeah.
us.
No, not leave you.
No,
To-
no.
Ah.
Oh, let us go slowly.
It's a dream of mine. I'm not joking, to have a one-man podcast.
Well, you know what? Maybe you should have communicated that at the start.
From day one, I would have thought
No,
about
no,
this.
You know,
no,
I
no,
thought
no,
Mustafa
no.
Krayem has better communication skills than
That's
what I'm seeing right now.
Without the three sticks, there's no short sticks.
Yeah, but
But I'm talking. We're talking serious now. As a goal, or one of my goals.
How about we'll put as a goal that me and you go off and do our
no,
own thing?
no,
Yeah,
no. I did
all
not
what
mean.
what we'll do is we'll just edit all his parts out.
No. I did.
That'll work.
I did not mean to isolate you guys. I'm saying, in conjunction with this, one of my hobbies and goals is to have a one-man show.
Sorry, man.
And it might be the crappiest show on earth.
All right, I just want to know right now, what are you going to name your one-man show?
The Graham
Krayem's
show.
Are Us?
The Graham show.
He'll call it the one man show.
Yeah. Or the one-man show.
Isn't there something like that already?
Or the top percenter.
Get out of town.
Okay.
I think.
Get out of here.
But let me tell you what he said.
I think he really needs to communicate with us a bit better.
He does, because I don't know how
Honestly,
I feel.
No.
I don't know if I'm a bit-
I'm not joking.
I
Haven't
feel
you
like
seen?
I'm a bit worried about
There's
it.
I
some
know.
famous shows.
And I don't know, I'm starting to doubt his commitment towards the
No,
short
no,
sticks.
no.
Wow,
I'm all in.
His inability to communicate and his inability to commit. That's
You guys are
these
you guys-
elements coming together are dangerous.
You guys, you're pushing a perception about what I've said, and you've taken it out of context. There will always be the short sticks by the will of God. But what I'm saying is, it's a passion, it's a goal that one day I have my own show.
All right, man.
Whether if it's sports
No,
shows,
it's nice to hear when someone has goals and aspirations, and one of them is to leave you.
it's not in conjunction.
Indirectly.
in conjunction.
Okay,
But why are you so baffled by it? Why are you taking it away that I'm leaving you? I know you can't live without me.
Look, maybe we all have attachment issues on the short sticks.
Maybe.
Who knows?
I'm
Maybe
getting anxiety now.
maybe we're unable to account for variable change in our
That's his way of
lifestyles.
saying, I will miss you if you do a one-man show, but I'll never leave the short sticks. But what the fan said, he said, I'm on your team because love is not a choice.
I don't know, man. I don't want to go down that road
No,
all
but
over
I'm just saying
again,
what he
man.
said. But there were a lot of females
Well,
that
look,
were on your
I'll be
side.
honest. I'll be
The
honest.
females were on Halbuni's
side.
side.
I'll be honest. Look, in
Your
terms
side.
of whose side who was on, it doesn't
No, it doesn't.
matter because
Oh, it's
everyone
feedback.
gave their opinion. and everyone's entitled to opinion, and people have different opinions. Although
they have the choice.
although none of us are professionals.
No,
Speaking
we're
about
not.
myself, that's why
And
it
we're
doesn't
not
matter
love-
if someone's against me. But if I had a professional who's maybe a psychologist or a scientist of human behavior,
Wow.
then
Can
maybe.
Graham, can we get one of these people?
I love how
you
you
got so
asked
many
me.
connections.
Nah,
You're the person that does all the communicating.
You know, he's got a special talent in public relations.
He does. He's getting all these MMA fighters.
Can you tell us the story
and,
about how?
and ex-NRL
Tell us
players?
the story about how you got invited to 3 barbecues with the first.
You seriously want to hear that story?
Yeah, I
What
do.
story?
Oh, come on, man.
You were there when you got
Alright.
invited to
So-
3 barbecues.
Mr. Halbuni Graham, basically, he tells me, come work out with me at the gym before the corona thing.
me?
Yeah, last year. End of last year. So, was it end of last year, beginning of this
I
year?
don't even remember. You go on.
End of last year. So I go to him. You sure you want me to come work out with her? He goes, yeah, come. He used to work out at the gym that I work out at.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Until he went and
yeah.
opened up his own gym.
I didn't open up.
Oh, he didn't do his own thing there.
No,
Hey,
he didn't
okay.
open up his own gym. He just
Okay.
didn't invite anyone else.
Yeah,
Oh, I
that's
see, I
It's
see,
a private
I see.
sanctuary.
Anyhow,
Private
this guy invites me to the gym. I go to work out with him. I think it's a standard workout. I usually work out by myself. I don't have a training partner. He gets to me, come, we'll do training partners for that. I got excited. I hadn't worked out with you for how long?
3-4 years.
If not more.
Yeah.
If not more. So, and I enjoy working out with you. I like your mentality.
We have a similar train of thought when it comes to training.
And I felt like maybe if I take on your way for a day, it'll be refreshing
your
for me.
body.
Yeah, it's nice. So I go, you know what, that's a good opportunity, and it was. From a training perspective, oh man, it was spot on. But then what did he do to me? This guy, he goes out between sets, he goes and starts saying hello and interacting with other gym members. That's fine. But he sits there at the end of the session. I'm sitting there looking at this guy. He's talking to the first person. The first person, he gets to him, what are you doing after, where do you live? What do you drive? Who's your brother? He starts mingling with him. Then he reaches a stage where he asks him, what are you doing after the gym? Then the guy goes to him, oh, I'm just having a barbecue. Then Graham just looking at him like that.
Wait, when are you going to invite me?
No. No, I think he was just trying to process. And the guy felt like he needs to invite him.
Yeah, it was random invite.
Yeah.
And mind you, I met that person that day. But I'll give you some background knowledge, yeah?
Yeah.
I do like the social aspect of meeting people and networking and because it was my trade for a while in the car industry. And I was brought up like that with my father. But there was a guy at the gym when I used to go for walks. They're brothers. They all look the same. They're like 3 brothers. They all look the same. So
Yeah.
when I go train, I say just, you know, when you're not at someone because you've been training with them for a while,
Yeah.
I'd say hi to him. Then I'd say hi to the next guy on another day and it's a brother and I think it's him. Then it happened 3 times. So
I remember he did say something like that to him.
So when you were there, I'm like, I was walking in the area and going for a walk and you were there. He said, no, that's my brother. I'll tell him, no, he was at the gym. He's like, no, that's my other brother.
Oh, man.
And then he's like, we're
How
5
confusing.
or we're 6. And,
And
we
they
all
all
look
look the
like
same.
they all look like same crew cut
Yeah.
type of skins. They
I
all
remember
look
that.
Like, yeah. So then when we had a laugh, he said, we're all going to be at the barbecue. That's when you heard.
But right after that, you started speaking to someone else and we got invited to another barbecue. We did 2 in a row.
Yeah, that's right. But look,
I don't remember what that story
I'll
was.
be honest with you.
But 2 barbecues
as much as
from
I love-
2 strangers.
It's true. As much as I love the social aspect at the gym, I never was like this, but I changed. I prioritize where it's hello, how are you? I love you, but I got to leave you. I'm training.
Yeah, man, it's got to be like that. If you
Because-
get warm and cold,
Yeah,
cold.
I
it's
know
just-
someone who
Oh,
trains
man.
very hard, but he stays at the gym sometimes for 2 hours because 1 hour of it is socializing.
oh, what a nightmare.
Yeah,
Nah, I can't do that, man. If I had to socialize even on the way to the gym,
yeah.
I'm turned off.
But
I'm done.
let me tell you something. Speaking about socializing and
Yeah.
communicating, the 3 Mustafas over here with Mustafa Ayubi in front of me and Mustafa Graham, who's speaking now. I was meant to say Mustafa Halbuni.
Do you see how much he's thinking about himself?
Look, if I'm not going to care
That's
about
proof.
wait, if I'm not going to care about myself, who is going to care about me at this age?
Who chose to care about you?
What?
You chose to care about
No,
you.
if
yes?
I'm not going to
so you chose to care about
if
you.
I'm not going to provide myself,
and you love yourself.
wait.
So love is a choice.
If I'm not going to
Oh,
get out of here. If I'm not going to care about myself to the extent that I do indulge in self-care, physically, mentally, emotionally, who will?
Listen,
You know the context of my life. Who will? Tell me.
Well, definitely the
Um,
first person to advocate for this would be your mother.
Oh, 100%.
but
I think that's
Your mother
that's a
cares
given.
about you more than you care about you. That's number one.
Excluding my mother.
You don't. That
I'm
wasn't
talking
what.
about- I said
That wasn't a
self-care. I
clause.
said self-care.
That wasn't a clause at the beginning. Now, in terms of self-care, taking care of yourself and your body, it's your responsibility. No one's gonna follow you with a tissue.
Nah, man. Even if you're married, if you don't look after yourself and you don't do what you're supposed to do, it's only like a matter of time before you slip.
Your health deteriorates.
Because your wife gets busy, she's got work, she's got kids, she's got so on and so on, and you've got this exact same responsibilities.
True.
Yeah,
A lot of people find it hard
yeah.
to deal with.
Oh man, so it doesn't mean because you're married, someone's gonna care for you more. Nah, man, if you don't care for yourself, no one's gonna do it for you.
100%. So, Mustafa Halbouni. I'm all right. Hello.
Hello.
He's on his little fancy iPad. It's got a case that lifts it up as if it's self-sustained without anything else holding it up.
Maybe my iPad likes to take care of itself. Look,
loves his gadgets.
I feel like the way that lately we've been communicating can be improved.
I do too, man. You've been hinting it since.
You know
minute
why?
one.
Because
You've done so well.
I really want
Far out.
I really want us to talk about communication.
But
We've been ranting for the past, let's say, 10 minutes or so. I want us to talk about communicating. So last week we discussed it was that the love topic that Mustafa Krayem came up with, or that advocated for, and
You just reminded
maybe
me.
communication is an important factor of love.
Maybe he needs to communicate his thoughts a bit better too.
I think I'm very good at articulating my thoughts.
I think I want you to tell me what communication means to you.
But it depends in what context. You know what I find, since you spoke about communicating, I find a lot of couples end up leaving each other because initially when they first met one another, they had poor communication skills. And I'll tell you something. How many couples where it's normal in their dialogue and through conversation
Yeah.
to just rant at one another and just start swearing, saying, F you. F you.
Man, what a horrible relationship.
Or for example, they go to the mum's place and they come home and they say, yeah, F your mum.
Oh yeah,
but
And then-
that's toxic. Honestly,
No,
it's
but-
Man,
toxic.
can you
and
imagine
unacceptable?
Can you imagine a couple swearing at each other? Oh, that's
But
horrible.
and then even if they're not swearing, how many couples think they go home and they say they told their best friends about how their relationship is not well and it's poor. But if you look at one of the sole reasons of why it's poor, it's because they have no communication skills, or they have no
It's
communication.
ineffective.
Their communication is ineffective,
Or
or they're the type to not talk about their issues whatsoever, and they
or
sleep and
they
get
don't-
over it.
They don't care enough for them to
Now, some people they
fix.
care.
No, what I'm trying to say is they don't care enough for them to fix themselves.
Oh, they don't recognize within themselves that that's an issue.
Oh wow, yeah,
You know,
that's massive.
some people just don't know how to communicate certain feelings. They don't know how to convey a point. So
It's not easy.
No,
you
it's
can't
true.
like there are some things, even those that are well spoken, people that communicate quite
Yeah.
easily, they can find themselves in situations where they're not able to convey
Oh, I agree.
what it is they're trying to say. But obviously that's not a regular thing. But there are people that don't know how to communicate. They just retaliate with anger, frustration.
So basically, even
swearing.
so we're trying to say, even if they know how to communicate, let's say in certain situations, if they're put under pressure or they're upset or they're angry, whatever it is, they can't deal with it.
Yeah, that's right.
They don't know how to. That's
And
man,
then there
happens
are
a
the
lot of
people that
just block
are
out.
generally unable to communicate.
Yeah, in all circumstances.
It's as if when their ineffective communication or their ineffective form of communicating, it's conveyed in such a distorted way. So their inability to articulate their thoughts or verbalize their thoughts initially
Mm-hmm.
would have been poor. So when they emotionally have this anger or frustration built up because of the issue at hand, it's even harder for them to verbalize their thoughts.
I think people just, and obviously I'm not a professional again, but I think people just consider communication just exchanging words.
They do.
People think that you just having a conversation, regardless of whether that conversation has meaning or whether it has, or whether the actual conversation has any, what do they call it, any weight behind it, or there's a purpose for that conversation, then people don't actually understand that that's not effective communication.
I
No.
once when I was younger, speaking from personal experiences, the younger version of me, I didn't have the inability to verbalize my thoughts, but I knew I can verbalize my thoughts much better. So I worked on expanding my vocabulary, not intentionally, but every time I'd read something online,
And you can see it. Like
I can visually see it. Oh, thanks.
the
I know what you mean.
one of the fans.
Yeah.
I'm calling him a fan because this guy listens to every podcast.
He's a mark.
The first 2 podcasts. So he listened to the first 2. This guy, man. Don't label him, please.
No, they're called marks
All right.
in the entertainment industry. We're in the entertainment show.
Oh.
Sorry. go on.
Obviously, you can see that he's trying to start his own podcast from all the research that he's doing.
You can tell.
Yeah.
Well, the amount he shares with us, or the amount he doesn't share.
So,
anyhow,
can I put a goal? I just want to
Yeah.
throw this out there. Can I just predict that by podcast 50, he'll be on his own show?
maybe about
with-
podcast 20. No, but 50 is a bit much.
I was being nice, giving him at least a year.
But with the short sticks.
Man, anyhow,
Yeah,
I'm not going there. So this guy goes to me after listening to 2 podcasts. He goes, is Graham serious? I go, what do you mean? He goes, he uses so many like out of the ordinary words.
Nah.
I get him now. I get this is Graham. I get this is actual Graham. I get when you see he's not different on the podcast than off the podcast. That's Graham, and that's how he is. He goes, no way. I get it is. So anyhow, he's listened to what now 5 podcasts, and that's it. I think he likes you. He's like,
That's awesome. But one thing I appreciate that one thing we pride ourselves in, and we're not celebrities, and we aren't doing this podcast to seek fame.
No,
that's
it's-
not our intention. It's a hobby, and we love.
it's just for the fun of it, man.
Yeah. And one thing we pride ourselves, 3 of us, is maintaining our raw characters and bringing it to life on the show. The last thing we need is to represent one another or represent yourself in the form where that's not you, or in the way where that's not a realistic representation of you. And that's what Instagram is
Yeah.
today.
Oh man,
Like
it's everything that you're pretty much not.
Yeah.
That's what Instagram is.
and you're fooled, or not fooled, but people carry a certain lifestyle, and we all know that. Whereas when you meet them in person, for example, they're couples, they're not happy, but on Instagram,
No. At all.
you think that they are living the most ideal life. But with communicating, as we were saying before, you find, as I was saying, don't you agree that a foundation of a relationship, the base of it is communication?
Man, any type of relationship, business, romantic, anything.
That's what I spot on.
Yeah, 100%. Any type of relationship you're trying to form, any bond you're trying to form, man. Even if I learned recently, for example, I got birds. I learned recently that if you want to bond with the bird, you have to communicate. You have to talk at a low tone, with a nice tone. low voice.
Communication isn't only verbal.
Yeah.
It could be. It could,
Oh,
it
there
could
you
be
go,
through
yeah.
instruction, through
There you go.
hand signals. There are so many people that
Through
communicate
emails.
With exclamation
They-
marks
with-
and capital
and
letters.
the emoticons and whatnot. So,
Or red font.
Oh wow!
see, no, he's going back to the color chart that he discussed in podcast 1.
Did he discuss in podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
In his podcast.
No, in his
It's-
reference to marketing and saying that he understands certain color emotions
And
because
the
he's
marks and all right.
no,
Sorry.
but I'll give it to him. He's actually very strong in that suit. So
He is.
I appreciate the compliments, but like what you said, very important. Communicating isn't just verbal. When we say communicating, we mean in many different forms and fashion. So you can communicate with someone just through looking at them, for example.
look, you know, what, I'm just gonna stop you guys right there. Let's not talk about what are different forms of communication, because we all know it.
Yeah.
There are so many different types of forms of communications. I'm just gonna throw it out and ask you a question that I've been thinking since the start of this podcast,
Go.
because I want to hear
Didn't
your
you realize
opinion.
he was thinking?
He looks like, man, I've been staring at him for a while and he just looks like he's so deep in his thoughts.
And he
Yeah,
had
because
something.
He's about to light it up.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about this, and I have my answer, and
You can't think of a question and answer it before asking us.
this is definitely I can. Of
No,
course,
that's
how am I going?
cheating.
It's not cheating.
Oh,
How can I weigh what you how can I weigh what you say against what I believe? If I
How
don't
can
answer
you
it,
pose the question and not think about it yourself?
No, because he's thought about it for a long time.
what do you,
Oh,
I've
that
thought
he's
about
thought
it for what 10 minutes.
Yeah, with
And-
you, mashallah, it's a lot.
Okay.
What is
anyway,
the question, man?
Yeah, that's
Anyway,
the question.
should it or is communication something that should be instinctive?
Natural?
Yeah, as in should your in communication Should it be something that's an instinct or instinctive?
That's a very.
That's very
you
broad.
caught me off guard with that question.
Man,
Yeah, because that
I'd find
question-
it hard to answer because
That question goes down so many paths,
yeah,
and you have to think about. And I'm not talking about verbal responses. I'm talking about communication
in general, in total,
in
body
all-
language, whatever sign
So
language.
is
verbal.
effective communication instinctive?
Man, I'd say it is, but I'd say if you rely on instinct, you might fall down a lot of holes. So I'd say, for example, let's say someone says speaks about a touchy subject or asks you stuff, and you get emotional about it. If you don't know how to be political and hold your emotions back, and you just rely on your instincts, I think you will get in a whole lot of.
And when you're talking about communicating being instinctive, does your emotional state
50-50? You didn't like that one?
does your emotional state have any part in how
Are
you
you asking
communicate?
me a question or you're answering my
I'm
question?
asking you a question. When you're talking about instinctive communication,
Yeah,
does the context of your emotional state play a role?
definitely. But
He's saying, is it something natural that comes out?
my question is this: is effective communication instinctive? So
Is
is
it
it
the same as saying is it premeditated?
no?
Why?
Because, for example, my question was premeditated. My question to you was premeditated.
yeah.
So
You're not getting the question? Is
no,
that what it
I'm
is?
trying to narrow it down, as in because usually instinct is based on the behavior.
I don't think he wants. I think he wants it to
No,
be.
forget
general.
about forget about sport.
No. I'm saying
Yeah,
instinct.
forget about sport instinct.
Not in-
I'm
no,
talking
no.
about, for example, if we're having a
a
conversation
dialogue. Yeah.
or a dialogue, and me and you are talking about, let's say, I'm talking about love, like we did in the last podcast. I'm telling you, the responses that happen between each other during this dialogue or this conversation is this communication instinctive?
Man,
Or what is it that we need to do to make sure that this is effective communication?
Or usually,
I've
when
got it.
to make it effective communication, you need to relate to prior knowledge.
But here's what he's trying to ask. Tell me if I make
Break
sense.
it down for me
I feel like
because
this is a
I'm not-
riddle.
because
I'm not
I'll tell you
gonna-
something. Mustafa
It's not a riddle, it's
Krayem,
not that
Mustafa Krayem, if this was a archery contest,
Contest, yeah.
he shot me in the ass. I'm just telling you.
Well, I aimed at the bullseye.
Anyhow, let me try to reword what I was going to say. What I was saying earlier. I think it should be instinctive,
Yeah.
but I think you should work on your natural instincts. If that makes sense, because I know myself, I tend to the emotional side, and that's horrible. Because let's say you're not having an argument, but you're on the verge of having an argument with someone, that could turn very toxic if you're an emotional person. But if you train yourself to not react or for your instincts not to be emotional, I don't know. What do you reckon? Does that make sense? So it should be instinctive, but you should train your natural instincts to be better.
You know what? You're much closer than
You reckon?
Mustafa Krayem, but I feel like
Graham's got no clues, but to answer another question.
No, what I was going to say, I thought deep about the question,
Did you?
and I don't know if I'm answering it right.
Better
You just-
be a deep answer. Or it's gonna look-
he caught me completely off guard with that question, and he knows when he,
he
does
did
that.
so last week too,
Yeah.
but with the love question.
That's right.
That
And
was
when
a
he
riddle.
and he knows when he does that, I have to actually take my time to process the question to make
because
sure.
I want effective communication. I don't want you to just instinctively respond.
Well, that's why I wanted to answer by saying
Wow.
that I pride myself on
Bazinga.
in those
You
situations.
think he got it?
I pride myself in those
Yeah.
situations
Yeah.
to not respond based on emotion, to stay calm, controlled,
Mm-hmm.
and cool,
Mm-hmm.
and gather my thoughts correctly in answering, not based on emotion.
But he's trying to say complete communication. So let's say someone asked you a really touchy
Or
question.
even effective communication that's going to produce a positive outcome.
Should it be based on
Or
instinct?
communication that's going to achieve its goal.
Should it be based on instinct?
Is it instinctive?
No. I think it's developed.
It's developed, but you should develop your instinct. That's what I'm trying to say.
It's like reflexes. You work on your
Yeah,
reflexes.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say. So it's developed, but let's say you talk to this billionaire of a businessman. If you ask him a question, he can reply within a second the exact question he trained himself to reply. So do you get what I mean? So it's developed, but it's instinctive at the same time because he trained himself enough to reply politically every time.
And
That's
you,
like
and
Donald
you
Trump.
see, and that's the, and
Yeah,
that's
he
and
knows how to work the
that's-
media.
that's
big
an-
time.
Yeah, exactly.
that's an excellent answer
His
because
instincts are.
because see that's the problem. We are wired to have so much instinctive communication that it's just something repetitive. So let's say 50 people come up to us with the same problem.
Yeah.
You have
In
the
most
same
cases, even though outwardly it's the same problem, inwardly that same problem is influenced by so many more different factors that you can't just give each one the same response.
Oh, wow, that's big, man.
So that's like giving a
That's-
generic
see what
answer.
he said. How he said,
That's
if you
deep.
go and ask a businessman a question
Yeah.
about business, for example, instinctively he's going to give you a response straight away. Why? Because he's trained himself, or that's how
To
he's,
have a generic response.
or that's how he's used to responding through that generic response. And see that's where communication becomes ineffective, because
Whoa.
what he says to you
I like it. I like
might
where you've
not, might not
taken
work
this.
for me.
I love how you took
See,
this.
see this?
What a
Let
360.
me give you a scenario. That example that he just posed.
Bro, that's deep. Did you just get what he said?
It's going to get deeper.
Oh, wow. He's digging it deeper. I love it.
Watch
I love
out. It's going to get very deep.
it. Dig
That
it down.
scenario that he posed. You have Sally.
He's trying to out deep you.
No. I'm going off what he said.
He's trying to
Because-
story top you.
Light bulbs just flashed in my head.
You know, I love when he's like this,
Me too.
because you know what that means. That means he's ready to bring something from deep inside him.
Yeah.
And the team cracking him is
you
all
know,
ease.
you know what's awesome about this, and I just want to say this before you continue, because once you start, I know there's no one that's going to stop you.
No way.
You're going to see.
I'd
you're
just walk out. That's it. He
you're going
ends
to
it.
see parts of him that you haven't seen before.
It's twice in 2 weeks.
Completely destroyed his mojo.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
We're deleting it anyway.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we are.
This guy.
It's a podcast, man.
He's trying to get me back.
Oof.
He's been waiting 1 week to get me back.
Yes. Because we
Especially-
but he's got a point. Because last week we refused to take off the bit he said to take off.
Yeah, but you know, someone called me and we were talking, and then randomly he's like, "It's a podcast, man."
That's the next meme.
I told him I had to.
You can put my face on that one. It's okay.
I told.
No, you have to put his face on it, and you know, like the lines that say he's screaming. Put me next to him.
With the little head.
Do you remember the story you better?
Yeah.
All right,
So
okay.
we have Sally
Sally,
and her partner, She's
hypothetically speaking.
yeah.
All right.
and then her best friends. Not
Uh-huh.
friend, because usually girls they
Sally, her partner, and her best friend.
Wow,
Yeah. So she goes to one best friend,
gonna be an awesome example.
and that best friend, she's married. Yeah.
Mhm.
And she'll complain to her about her situation.
Yeah.
Her best friend will give her the answer based on the context of her life with her husband.
Okay. Oh yeah. So she's replying and
Yeah. Then she'll go to
what
her
she knows.
other best friend number 2. That best friend's single. She's been single well into her 20s. She's entered her 30s and she's still single.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what the difference usually in advice would be.
What?
I'm talking about a real problem. The married best friend who has a good relationship would encourage her to stay with her partner and to
It's true.
find a way to fix it.
It's true.
The single best friend that's heading into her 30s and she's still single will give her advice and encourage her to leave him. Usually.
Yeah. She'll say, "Oh," and you know, but
She'd
sometimes.
advocate for her.
But do you reckon sometimes that it's not only personal experience, or it's not wish? See how they say, "Wish for people what you wish for yourself." The second best friend that's single, maybe she's not practicing that. Maybe she's being a bit jealous and saying, maybe she should be single just like I am.
That's right. And sometimes it doesn't happen out of jealousy. It
It just
happens
happens
out
out of natural instinct.
natural instinct of, okay, I'm like this, you're having these issues, just do what I'm doing, I'm single, for example. And then that way she has a friend that's single because most of her friends are married. And the guys, from the guy's point of view, I've experienced this firsthand. I had a guy that would come to me, talk about his problems.
Yeah.
I'd give him advice. And the last thing I'd tell him is to leave her. I'd encourage him to make it work because they were together for a while. Then he'd go and speak to someone that's just had a divorce.
Oh, that's
Then he'd come back to me a week later.
He's fired up.
And his train of thought, everything, all the psychology that I instilled into him.
Oh, sorry,
He's-
Dr. Phil.
Yeah, no, what she is. He'll have a complete different chain of thought, and he'll be on the other end of, nah, I'm divorcing her. what do you mean? You just, and then I realized from then that the divorce guy was convincing him to get a divorce, so he isn't the only one that's had a divorce in their
That's
circle of
disgusting.
friends.
Look, you know, I've seen it quite commonly around, and you know that does go back to yes, effective communication between people. But now Graham's just opened up a big can of worms because
I was going to say
because what he's talking about is not only having effective communication, it's also about having effective responses to the communication you're having with that individual. Because and he gave a prime example of something that happens every day. If I'm having an issue in my relationship and I go to anyone, whether they're having a successful relationship or an unsuccessful relationship, or they don't have, or they aren't in any relationship, first of all, in my opinion, I would believe that none of these people can give me the best advice for my relationship.
So who can give you the best advice?
The reason for this, first of all, is because unless and this is the clause,
Yeah.
unless these people know every single aspect of my relationship
and
from
what's been
start to
happening.
finish, what's been happening, who's involved, and every single aspect, what happens when we're alone, which never happens because no one can ever know what happens in your
behind
relationship
closed
completely.
doors, yeah.
So, or what happens behind closed doors, like you said. So really, you may be able to go and ask someone for advice about a certain situation in regards to your partner, so to speak,
Yeah.
or your boss or something. Definitely, the person in front of you is only going to get the picture that you tell them. So how are they going to be able to provide you with the best response possible to how to deal with your situation? And on top of that, a lot of the time, those people giving that information don't give the right advice anyway.
So what do you do
That's
though?
a major part. But
What do you do?
you know what you do? And this is a responsibility of yours just as it is as the person giving advice. If you're going out to seek people's advice, go to people that are fit to give advice. That's number one.
And if someone's asking you for something, or someone's asking for your opinion on a matter, if you know for a fact that you don't know, or you know for a fact that you can't provide this individual with the best advice, then just tell them I can't give you advice on this.
And I'll add to that point.
Because it's a responsibility.
I'll-
Imagine that person is the reason for breaking up a marriage, breaking up a family.
I'll add to that
Yeah.
point, and don't give a generic advice for the sake of just answering.
And that goes back to what Mustafa Ayyubi said about the generic answer from the billionaire entrepreneur.
Do you know what also happens?
Yeah.
One will become the center of gossip between two households. So you have the wife and the husband. They're two
Yeah.
families, yeah? Husband's family knows all about the issues. Wife's family knows about the issues. And then husband and wife sort it out.
Yeah.
And it's ongoing. What happens over time, they become the center of gossip because husband's family would naturally discuss their issues.
Yeah.
Wife's family will discuss their issues. Each has their own perspectives. Then when they go home and make up, they're happy, but everyone else is talking about them and about their issues. And they're living a happy life.
And then every time they have issues, they give them the wrong advice because
Yeah.
they're still on the preconception
That's
of
right.
what happened what
Yeah.
happened previously. And you know that
Hit it on its head. You got
that-
the nail.
and
So
you know-
last week he said, after I said my point, that I grabbed the
he said, she
hammer
said,
and I hit it right on top of his head, right in. And that point, repeated again.
look,
I don't think he remembers
no,
the point.
of course I do.
No, he
Definitely,
does, he
of,
does.
of course I remember the point.
He's got
and,
the ball and he's riding it.
and I'm
He's got the what? The ball?
Yeah, like he's on the ball
Why is he riding the ball?
because he's on the ball.
look.
He's riding the ball?
Can we forget that point because that's not going to go
How do you
anywhere.
ride a ball?
Here we go.
Then you know the phrase "you're on the ball."
Yeah, you're on the ball. You're not riding the ball.
It's a figure of speech.
figure of
I'm
speech.
with Graham on this
So
one.
you-
mate.
Riding the ball?
Yeah, so
He
you
didn't
met-
say riding the ball.
ball,
He
the
didn't
ball.
say. Did you say riding the ball?
Yeah, so you're on.
What?
You're riding the
You're
ball.
on- he's on the
B-A-double-L.
But do you know if you scream louder, my ears will pop.
Should I try it? No. It's a podcast, man.
That's twice now.
Hey, so is it riding the ball? B-A-double-L?
So what I
I've never
term
heard that
is
statement.
riding the ball,
I
I've
thought
heard.
it's on the ball.
can I talk?
You, like the guy's on the ball, meaning he's on the right track.
Yeah,
Hey,
but
how long can we keep this going? eye contact and ignoring him.
No, I don't want to do that.
That's like
That's ineffective communication.
Yeah,
and
because
riding the ball.
slouching is also ineffective communication.
It is.
And right now I'm going into a slouching position.
Alright, sorry, and it's right. It's an actual statement. Riding the ball. I'm googling it now.
No. So you have the ball and you're on the ball. Imagine if you got that ball and you're running home with it.
Wow. Look at us. Can you finish your point about Sally and her partner?
No, I said that the person, like what
Because
you...
now I'll tell you, you have you'll be searching. He's searching the phrase. He's
Riding
on the
the
ball, riding the ball.
Oh, well, I'm making a meme tonight.
What? What'd you say?
The ball with your face on it.
He's
No.
making a meme.
Me
tonight.
holding it.
You can't do.
If you want to go there, I can go there.
I didn't spread your meme.
No, I won't spread it. But I'll tell you, I'm very creative when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, look, we've seen
Yeah,
his
no, I can't
videos.
find that statement.
What about the video that he owes me? I want to communicate about this. Hey, Yubi, on the podcast.
Yeah, no.
I want to communicate about this on the podcast.
If
I
you
think
communicate
that
about
Where's
it,
where's my video?
we'll take that to another show because I want to keep divulging into... That's a word, divulging.
I believe so.
I said it right. I don't know why I just got paranoid that I said it wrong.
Look, you know that you're strong with words.
No, I'm not.
So don't doubt yourself. Just continue with Sally and her partner.
Divulging. Yeah, when you divulge.
Yeah,
When you jump right into it. Yeah, sorry. No, I just want to double check. Anyway, it's a habit of mine, but because it's a podcast, I'm speaking out loud.
Hang on. I divulge. I do not want to divulge my plans at the moment.
Yeah, and now we're divulging into them.
We're showing.
Yeah,
we're, showing
we're
it,
going
making
right into
clear.
it.
Okay, go.
Yeah, so as he said that point, which was so impressive and I loved it, was when they go back to, so they have another problem and then it became a habit, they go back to their families, the guy goes to his brothers and the girl goes to her sisters or brothers,
Yeah.
they're talking about it again, and it's because their relationship now is open. Their advice is based on preconceived thought, based on their issue 6 months ago. But what they don't know,
So dangerous.
what they don't know is that 3 months of those 6 months, they lived
They were happy.
so happy.
They've been over it for 3
And-
months.
Yeah, and they've been over it, and it's just that
The,
one.
the issue was over 2 days.
Yeah, and then that new issue is based on something else.
Yeah.
And often it interrelates with poor communication.
You know, I've seen that as the reason for many relationships failing.
You
What-
know what?
what was the
many
point that I
relationships- Yeah. You know what was one of the points you said? Other than seeking advice from the right people, I've taken that from your point, and that's something I pride myself in practicing. Is what happens at home stays at home.
You know that's a famous Arabic in our culture.
but you know the Arab, but how many people do you know of? For example, the wife has trouble at home with her husband. Instead of communicating back and forth with her husband, trying to rectify the problem, she goes to her mum. And how many mother-in-laws were the starting of the trouble of the,
Oh,
of the
definitely,
relationship?
because
What
the
about
first
she
thing
goes-
she's going to do
Is
is
defend
her daughter
Yeah.
because she's going to believe anything her daughter says. And you know what another problem is?
Yep.
You know what another problem is? So
Yeah.
imagine that is the case. Okay, let's say someone doesn't know how to communicate, male or female. They go to their parents. Okay, let's say the female or the wife went to her mother, and she explained to her mother they're having problems. Now, one other issue besides her taking her issues outside the circle of husband and wife is that the issues that she portrays to her mum, she's portraying one thing, but her mum is hearing something else.
Yeah.
And that's due to ineffective communication. That's due to her relying on instinct. Why? Because her mum is listening to her daughter have problem with her husband. So if her mum doesn't know how to, or her dad, or her brother, or
Whoever
her
it is,
sister,
yeah.
or whoever it is, doesn't know how to effectively communicate based on what's being said, and they respond instinctively, then that's going to cause problems,
Then-
not just between wife and husband, but between mother-in-law and husband, or
Yeah.
father-in-law.
What if
for
I
sure.
flip the
Husband.
coin? You love that phrase when I flip the coin, where they do have effective communication,
Yeah.
but the mother, because it's the daughter complaining, already has preconceived thoughts
He's-
of what the lady is saying. She's in
Yeah.
complaining mode about her husband, even
Yeah.
though she loves her. Is it son-in-law? What's
The mother-in-law loves her son-in-law.
Yeah, even though she loves him, but because emotionally she's tied with her daughter, already in her mind, she's built this negative attitude towards that response.
Yeah, they build a barrier. That's it.
Because it's very rare
Yeah.
for a mother-in-law, and they are out there, where they advise the wife or the daughter to calm down and go find alternatives of how to solve your issue with your husband. My father's advice to my sisters,
Yeah,
and I've always stuck by this, where he told them if he's seen them upset, they wouldn't talk about the issue. But the father, your fathers, you have
Yeah.
this instinct with your daughters. I used to see it with him. He'd know that they're unhappy, even if it's over something small, without knowing what a problem is, whether it's about herself or not, or her husband or whatever.
he just sense from the way she's acting that she's
The
unhappy.
number one rule that he taught us was keep your problems private
Yeah,
and go sort it out with your husband.
man, that's
It's
the
a
healthy way.
Very mature way
Yeah.
because, first of all, it's him saying, "Look, unless it's a serious issue,
Where he
Yeah,
needs to get
where he
involved.
We're not
needs to
talking
get
about- yeah,
involved.
we're
Like
talking
for
about normal,
example,
everyday
Yeah.
someone's at harm or there's something going on that genuinely needs
Yeah.
someone to intervene
Yeah.
or an intervention, then definitely. But if it's just a normal problem,
No, you got to sort it out. But
these things should be done,
Yeah.
within the home.
can you imagine the type of relationship it is anyway?
It'll be volatile.
Yeah, if you're in a relationship where you can't discuss things, like you get pissed off at each other,
But
and
what about
you
if you're in
both
a
go to someone else to
So
vent.
how do what's a good way of being effectively communicating?
One way I think it is to increase your vocabulary,
Thanks.
but other than that,
One way to increase your vocabulary.
yeah, instead of always using
If
derogatory,
your wife is pissed off at you,
Yeah.
just start using new words.
Use the words she doesn't understand and use them strongly.
Sweetie, I want to divulge into this tonight.
but imagine using derogative language.
No, for sure. That's a
I-
no.
Do you know why? Because
I
a lot-
understand what he's saying.
Yeah, me
even though Gary Harvey, whatever his name is, that guy, that motivated guy, he's very smart. He always swears when he talks, and he promotes that. Oh, you can swear. Who cares?
Ah, man,
But
that's disgusting.
What I think, uneducated people or people who are educated but they use a lot of derogative language, I think they use that language to fill in the gaps in their sentences.
You know,
I
you know
agree.
why I agree with that?
Yeah.
Because so many people, even though they inside they know what they want to say,
Yes.
But they can't word it.
they don't know what words to choose, and sometimes that's due to not understanding how that word will sound at that point in time. And another thing is, sometimes people are so stressed or confused when trying to relay points. Even if, let's not just say whether it's a partner, a spouse, or even that sort of stuff. We're talking. It could be for anything at the workplace, with your boss, with your parents, with your family, friends, anyone. With your colleagues and everything. So sometimes people are so stressed and frustrated while having a conversation, trying to discuss what their problem is or what the issue is, or even have a conversation, that they use the wrong words, and that's a lot of the time starts.
Based on what he just said, what if
He had his finger pointed
What-
at me. It's like he pressed pause. I
no,
had to stop.
he hit a point? What if on top of what he's saying,
Yeah.
then I'm asking you this question.
Yeah, go.
Then they don't know how they feel when they're talking to you. So not only do they don't know what words to use, at that point they don't know what they're feeling
Yeah.
exactly.
It's a bad mixture.
So what do you think the reaction will be?
Yeah, no, it's horrible. So can you imagine a person that's so fired up, is so angry, for example, like you said, their emotions are all over the place and they don't know how to word it on top of that, and they don't know how to communicate it. That's horrible. Besides, can you imagine if you're in a really heated argument with someone and you just throw a bunch of new words?
I think they'll get frustrated.
No, but
No, but you take them off guard.
But let's be honest.
They'll be
It's
baffled.
happened
It's
to me.
also your responsibility. Let's say you're discussing something with a child, okay? If you're having a conversation with your son, your daughter, your younger brother, sibling, or even just someone that you know that's younger than you, you're giving them advice. Definitely, you need to be conscious of the terminology you use and
For
make
sure,
sure it's
man.
appropriate for their age.
Man, how many parents do you know these days that swear in front of their children?
I hate
Man,
that.
I've seen that
I
firsthand.
despise
A
it
mum-
so much.
Man, let alone, I find it disgusting when a man does it, but let alone when a female does it too, equally just as much as a man in a relationship. Man, I found them two married couple with two children. They're sitting there non-stop. Almost every second word is the F word.
That's
or
what I
whatever it
was
is.
talking about before.
But man, I'm talking about a normal conversation.
Yeah.
And can you imagine these little children? They're gonna grow up thinking, "Oh, that's how people
That's
communicate."
normalized. Well, us as,
And then can you imagine telling them, "Oh, you can't swear because you're young."
watch this. Us as former teachers,
Yeah,
we dealt with a lot of cases where the children would have that type of derogatory language at a young age. Then when you see the parents and you meet them, lovely people,
yeah.
but you can sense from the way they are talking that this child has learnt it from somewhere.
Yeah,
Well,
And it's
Definitely.
it's a reflection of his parents.
They're going to pick it up from their parents, their siblings, their family, their friends.
Yeah.
Obviously, they get it from somewhere.
then-
But you know what? Let's be honest. I've met people from households that are like their parents.
So
For
respectful.
example, that they're respectful. They don't swear. They're
Yeah.
very, conservative. Yet you find their children now we're talking about children at a very young age. We're not talking about teenagers here.
Mm.
You find these younger children, they know a lot of things you wouldn't expect their parents to teach them.
No.
And you know where it comes from? YouTube, social
Yeah.
media, Instagram,
Snapchat.
TikTok, Snapchat.
Oh, that TikTok thing is gone
So
viral.
so we can't always blame the parents or the
See what the
siblings.
Indians did to TikTok?
No,
You didn't see?
they banned it.
No. So basically, some sort of Indian YouTuber,
Famous-
viral YouTuber,
Yeah.
he had some sort of beef going on with one of the people from TikTok. Indians went viral. They all started going on Play Store and started rating
Negative.
TikTok one star, because from my understanding, if something goes below half a star of
Can't
rating,
download
it gets deleted off the Play Store.
Don't forget
No.
Indian.
So the last time I checked, TikTok was on 1.4, 1.2 stars.
No.
Let me check it now. Actually,
What
So if
is-
it gets
on
if
Play
it gets
Store.
to, if it gets to half a star or
it gets
below,
deleted off Play Store.
Do you know in
No.
These Indians
Wow.
are gone crazy.
Do you know in 2018 the
Yeah.
population of India was 1.353 billion.
Man, it went from 4.7 stars to reflect that population, 4.7 to 1.2 in less than a week, I think.
Yeah, India is one of the most overpopulated countries. So if
Wow.
someone's a viral YouTuber and he's Indian, call me. You're my friend. Sachin Tendulkar.
It's gone back
India's
up to
best-
1.6
best
now.
batsman.
1.6
Yeah,
stars.
that's because TikTok's sitting there putting 5-star reviews now.
Yeah, look,
What about people that can't stay focused during a conversation? You know that
are you
pisses
talking,
me off.
Are you talking about their attention
You know,
span?
There's some
not
people-
attention span. Let's
Yeah.
say, imagine someone's talking to you. Put it this way. I'm going to go back to kids because I see kids cop it the most.
Yeah.
Imagine a child coming up to you, son or your daughter or your sibling, a younger child coming up to you, and they're trying to communicate something to you, and you're too busy sitting on their phone. You're not looking at their body language. You're not listening to
What about when they communicate
Man.
something to you and you shut them down in a way that's so aggressive because you're trying to do
that they'll
something,
never come back and ask you.
but they'll never come back and ask you, and that may be the reason why they turn to go to a bad or poor path
Yeah.
for a certain period of their life.
Or they just choose not to communicate with their parents.
And then
That's
then the
one of the
parent
reasons.
That's the
complains.
majority. That's the majority of the population.
But then the parents complain when they're older and they're teens, saying, "I have no relationship with my son."
You know what they've done?
Why?
You know what they've done in some schools? Have you heard about that? So they come to an agreement. They come to an absolute agreement where they say to themselves, for example, us as parents, we're gonna all agree that we don't give our children's phones until a certain class. So let's say
Wow.
until year 7. Everyone in that class, we all agree as parents that no one's getting a phone, so they don't feel peer pressure to get a phone. And that way, when they come home, they can feel like they're more needed, and they don't go through all that horrible stuff that they go through on social media and whatnot.
Well, if that could happen, that would be absolutely amazing.
That's what they're doing now. That's the new trend.
But it's quite far fetched. Let's be honest.
It is because, man, the majority of the people, they say, you'll sit there, you have your children nagging. I want a phone. And
But-
you want to go on your phone, so you go buy him a phone.
But not just look, it's hard because a lot of now parents are addicted to their phones.
Yeah.
If parents could learn to teach themselves, okay, I know when it's enough. If my child or my friend, my husband, if my wife, if any individual is coming up to me to have a conversation, or any individual is trying to communicate with me, whether it's about my day, whether it's about just day-to-day things, or whether it's about something important, even body language
Matters.
can affect the mood of that conversation and can lead to a positive or negative result.
For sure, man. It matters. Because I see it in children's eyes when they come to their parents, even at a young age, they're asking them something or they're interested in something, and they're sitting there next to their parents, and they ask them something, and the parent is not even looking at them. They're just staring at their phone. That is absolutely destructive.
So how does someone become an engaged listener?
Practice. You got to
How?
be aware. I think you got to first.
So what do you have to say to the people listening to this podcast? If they're parents, if they're children or not children, if they're teens or if they have siblings and whatnot, what do you have to say to them? How can they become engaged listeners?
Get rid of your phone. Be aware of your situation, of your surroundings. If your child is sitting next to you, interested in what you're doing, get rid of your phone. And don't. Have you seen what people do? They flip it upside down or on its face on the table as if I'm not looking at it. No, get rid of it. So if it vibrates, you're not there.
Because
you're not attending. Yeah,
it becomes instinctive to look at the notification they receive.
Get rid of it.
But what about?
And what sort of love and affection are you showing this person if you're really not interested in what they say?
How about this? I was visiting my grandma, and she had a visitor over.
Yeah.
And there was a lady. She had about 4 kids, and I was the only male there.
Yeah.
And each child had a phone in their hand for 20 minutes.
That's horrible. Have you seen what?
For 20 minutes.
Man,
So when I introduced myself, that's my point. I just met them.
yeah.
Hello, and being a school teacher, a former school teacher, I've worked with children for a long time. So what I prided myself on, I've used that sentence a lot, was to be an effective communicator with the students,
Yeah.
for them to understand what I'm trying to say and encourage them to take their time
Yeah.
when responding. Don't feel the need to rush. Think about what they would like to say. Slow down, then communicate it. So when I met these little kids, all in high school and late primary, I shook their hands. My name's... I sat down. I tried to engage in a conversation with them. I couldn't.
Of course, they're not attending to you.
They were all on their phones.
But
And they
that's what
weren't
they're used
interested
to.
in communicating at all.
That's what they're used to, though. That's what they're
That's
used to.
their norm.
And you know,
Yeah,
to
but
what
what about when
extent-
we
have
were
you ever
younger?
heard of phantom vibration syndrome?
I want you to enlighten me because you have a science background and I love when you talk about this stuff.
No, it's not. I'm not going to go into the.
Is it like a
into the deep-
hallucination of a vibration?
You're very close because.
Is it like what?
What about how
Hallucination.
people have become so obsessed with their phones that they, you know,
Oh, yes,
when you feel when you think that your phone's vibrated or it's calling or you've received a text and you look and there's no notification, but you say, "Man, I swear it vibrated."
Yeah.
Scientists have classified that as phantom
It's a syndrome
vibration
now.
syndrome because people now are so addicted to their phones that they're hallucinating
That it's vibrating.
that it's vibrating.
Am I missing the call? Am I really? No, but that's true, man. That's true. You know what they do, Graham, in big, talking about big companies, corporate companies, when they sit in there and want to have meetings, phones are not allowed in. No matter who you are, even if you're the CEO of the company, phones are not allowed in. Because they say if your phone is even on your body, you're not attending to the meeting 100%. So full no. But that's something to be taken by, man. It's a lesson for us. Because basically, if you're at home with your so-called loved ones, then maybe don't allow the phones to be with your loved ones.
Once when all my nephews and nieces were over,
Yeah.
I hid my PlayStation, I hid it.
Yeah.
And it was a time where I had put it there for them to use. I wasn't using it anymore.
It just felt like it's enough.
I just thought, let them use it every week they come over.
Mm.
Then I monitored, and I realized that these guys were fighting non-stop over the PlayStation, which is normal when you're young. My turn, your turn. You know what I did? The next week they came, they used to that same routine. They go straight to the garage before saying hi to everyone.
Straight to the PlayStation.
Yeah. And then they said hi to everyone. They walked in, then they came and said hi to everyone straight away. Where's the PlayStation? It's gone. They took out their iPads. And they didn't spend a lot of time on it.
Mm.
But because they're all meeting at once, what did I do? I told my sisters and my brother, no technology, watch this. They all agreed.
Yeah.
I went one by one. I took all their technology. I told them, go outside of the backyard and do what I used to do and what your parents did when you were young. Come
Be a
up with
kid.
fun games outside. You know what happened? It started to rain and I had to fight with my nephews against my siblings. One of my nephews came up with an idea because he lives in a unit
Yeah.
where he'd fill up the water bottle with rain and pour it on the car. And he found it so fascinating.
But that got his mind working.
But he came up with a game. That's his game. So my sister was like, "No, you're gonna dirty the house when you walk in," and I said, "No, don't worry, let them play. I'll clean the house. Let them play." Because I watched them. They came up.
Does he clean his sister's house?
They came up with a game where they run around the block around the house, and they pour water on the car, and then go back refill. It's just some fun game. They weren't harming anyone.
It's excellent that you prompted them. It's excellent that you prompted them to be creative with how they actually
You should have
communicate
seen
and
the
play
joy
games.
on their faces.
I can imagine, but I have a question.
What?
Did you end up cleaning the house?
No. But my point is that when I took the technology off their hands,
They became creative.
and one of the life skills you learn as a child at school or in the playground is not in class. It's communicating on the playground.
For sure.
When you get bullied
For sure.
when you're young, you learn from that encounter and you learn how to communicate to prevent that from happening. When you go to play tips with your friends at school, I'm not joking, when you're young, they say, "No, we don't want to play tips, we want to play soccer." You always play tips. You have an issue.
And
One
you-
of the
you
effective
know how
forms
to
of communication,
rectify it.
yeah, is to learn from the playground issues that you have.
That's true.
And with my nephews and nieces, I wanted them to learn how can they overcome their situations and differences. One nephew loves to play juggling and soccer. The other one's obsessed with rugby league. All right, how are they going to come to a mutual agreement of what are they going to do in the backyard?
It's true. It's
So
true.
that goes back to what?
Communication.
Effective communication.
Communication. Yes.
But this is a deep question, okay? It's for both of you.
Is it?
Don't you find
Yeah.
if you don't develop your communication skills when you're young, it's hard to overcome them when you're in adulthood?
Yeah, but that's because that's a
everything.
big difference between engaged listening and simply hearing. So some people they listen and they're engaged, and some people just simply listen.
I think he wasn't engaged on that question.
Well, look,
Or
he's
he's
not
being
engaged
sarcastic.
as a lot of for a lot of things that I say. But look,
No.
we let it slide.
No, that's like the
We
other
let it
question.
slide
That's
because-
like the other question that he asked. Repeat that again.
Okay,
Because
I
you
didn't-
hit me
I
up
didn't-
with-
I didn't ask a question. All
No,
I
but you
said.
hit me up with these phrases when I finish my point, and they're so deep. Repeat it
It's
again.
not that,
I
it's
like
just-
to give you my
Undivided
undivided
attention. It's. I wish you would say that when you're not on your phone.
Can you play the
Anyhow.
cricket noise, please?
I'll play it for you.
He's memorized with the buttons up.
Yeah,
He can do it with his
But
eyes closed.
I want this one.
Wait, I'll give you a standing ovation.
All right. Anyway,
He talks
seriously.
about me with my one-man show. Soon he's going to be on that mixer. You're gone.
As,
Our
as soon as he's on the
What?
mixer, I'm gone.
Wow.
telling you,
Why? But why?
No, no,
why is it?
as
Do you
in-
feel that from the start of the show?
Oh man,
He's trying to get rid of us.
is this,
No,
shit,
no,
is this
no.
shit stirring?
He'll be
Yeah,
on the
look,
mixer.
It's okay. We'll let it go. We'll let it go because we understand how he communicates.
All right.
We're engaged listeners.
Anyhow, Graham, just a quick reply to your question. Definitely, if any life skill, majority of your life skills are learnt as young. If you're sitting there wait till you're an adult to learn life skills, you probably waited too long.
Wow.
Anything, man. Have you seen the learner drivers that they start learning at 40 years old? They're some of the worst drivers in the world. Then maybe they should have just quit it while they're ahead. But basically, that's it. If you see your child as what they call socially awkward, in other words, he can't communicate, as a child, you should force him out of it, not when he's become a teen or
And make it fun.
yeah.
Don't make it forced. Make it fun.
What if-
When you said
Man,
forced, I'm sure you meant
Man,
that
when
fun.
growing up, I was a big introvert,
Yeah.
big introvert. So in other words, I would sit there, I'd watch kids playing, and I wouldn't join in. But I felt like my parents, all they do is tell me, "Oh, go out and play, go out and join them." But I'll be too shy because
you wouldn't know how.
I didn't find. But then one day, something snapped at me, and I said, "Enough's enough. I want to join them." But I felt like I had that thing not snapped in my head, and felt like I needed to do that. I would've
You
never
broke
done
your
that.
bubble.
But I had to do that. But you feel with children, some of them don't come across that slap across the face and that realization that I need to break out of my comfort
You
zone.
know, it's more parents or people that are influencing
It
that
is.
individual need to kind of show them
How?
because a lot
Not
of
just
kids,
say do it. Show them how.
a lot of people, not even kids, a lot of people are visual learners. They
Yeah.
learn visually. They need to see it in front of them. They need to hear it in front of them. They look at it, they copy. Like
Yeah.
what's that phrase? Monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah, yeah.
You
For
know,
sure.
so but like I mentioned before, I know that people simply they just hear in a conversation, but when you
They're not really here.
when you feel someone that's actually engaged, they're actually listening. When someone really
That's so
listens
rare.
to you,
That title, that you're a good listener.
it's
That's
very
so
hard. And
rare.
when someone's engaged with what you're saying, that means they're listening to everything. They're watching your body language. They're trying to vibe off your emotions. Even these people, they'll hear the subtle intonations in someone's voice
What do you mean
that
by
tell
that?
you.
Subtle intonations.
So the vibrations, the fluctuations.
Oh, the chords.
Yeah.
the
So when
rhythm
your
thing.
voice when the voice
That's
cuts
so-
off,
yeah.
Projection of your voice, yeah.
when the voice cuts off, when the voice goes deeper, when it goes high pitch, when
Can I say
you
that?
said body language.
The people that are like that, the good listeners, with all of its meaning, like you said, they vibe off you, they feel your tone, they feel your body language, they understand what you're saying, they ask questions and reply with answers. These people, when they're out there, everyone wants to talk to them.
Yeah.
Everyone wants them.
everyone wants to convey their problems.
Even if it's not a problem, even if you want to just discuss how delicious this coffee is, he wants that person.
Or
He
if they
doesn't want
wanna-
anyone
if
else's
They want to invite
attention.
people to barbecues.
I don't know if that was out of shyness or because he was a good listener.
No, have you actually
He is.
ever conveyed a problem to Kareem?
Other than problem, when I'm discussing day-to-day things with him, no, he's
So would you rate him
he
as a good listener?
understands it.
I think if three of us
I
weren't
do.
good listeners, we can't be on this show together. We're last.
So, no, but I think that's chemistry as much as listening. But
Of course.
because sometimes I tell you straight out, we don't listen to each other, but not all the time.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm telling you with all honesty.
when
Sometimes
you're-
I stare at you guys with.
I listen
And
to
my
all
brain's
of
in
you
Honolulu.
undividedly.
Here we
you
go.
can't come across as you're the savior.
I'm
No.
just I'm just
You're the different one.
That's the go do the head the head action. Go do it.
Instantly, he pulled himself out of the
He's the golden one.
perception that you perceive.
I'm not.
Speaking of
I'm
the
not
golden one,
the
you know-
prodigy. I'm not the prodigy podcaster.
Do you know how he said he's the golden one?
Yeah.
A random audio played on my music player while I was listening it started like this: the man with the golden headset. It was your voice, and now you
I almost spat all over my laptop.
you just said it in the same tone. He's the golden one. You're like, yeah, with the golden
Yeah,
headset.
we're not perfect, man. We have our ups and downs, but basically, like you said, if we didn't have some sort of mutual understanding and listening to each other, I think we wouldn't have lasted. But again, a lot of it is chemistry. But to be that good listener, that with a proper understanding, like what Halbuni said, a good listener, I think
Effective communicator.
that needs a lot of practice. I don't think that comes in 20 years
No,
or
it
30
doesn't.
years.
It does happen over time, and a lot.
Yeah.
Everyone's experiences affect how well they communicate and they listen.
Or
It's true.
if you're a good listener,
Yeah.
don't you think you need to know how to ask correct, open-ended questions?
Wow. But you know why that's difficult? Because even though someone might be an effective listener, if I'm effectively listening, I'm actually absorbing everything that you're saying emotionally, physically. I'm listening to your voice, and I'm listening to all the cracks in your voice and everything. I still might not know how to respond.
You know what? Sometimes, can I say
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get exactly. Sometimes being a good listener doesn't mean you have to respond. Sometimes,
People need to just get it off their chest.
yeah, sometimes you just need a shush. Honestly, sometimes
Oh,
the
but
right answer
it's
is the shush.
More maybe what you're saying is to be polite, not because you're being polite, but you're trying to learn what they are saying.
No, not in that. Some things, for example, if you see someone hysterical and you know no matter what
In that
as a good
situation,
listener,
yeah.
knowing that person, you know that no matter what you say to him, he's going to take it to an extreme. You go, maybe in this time, he
I should
vents
just listen.
and I just
But do
listen.
you know what happens then?
And I come back an hour, a day, a week, a month
But
later,
even-
and I
advise them.
discuss this.
But even in that time, I'm not talking about someone losing the plot completely. Let's say they're hysterical for the moment. What
Yeah.
I usually do, I stay calm and collective. And you know what I found? The
Yeah.
person most likely, unless they're going to lose their crap completely, they slowly then vibe based on the energy that I'm giving out.
100%.
Mm.
100%.
They do, man. They do. If you're hysterical or if you have that, I can't believe that happened. Yeah. Oh,
How could you let them do that to
why
you
would you?
and fire them up even more?
It's a podcast.
It's a podcast, man.
No, but that we thought that wasn't going to be on the air. That's different.
No, yes, we did. We all knew. We on this podcast we're raw.
But he was calm and collected.
But you know that we don't, because I'm used to him.
He was very calm and collected.
I'm used to him.
I'm a calm and collected guy.
No.
I gotta give that to you.
I
You
was
are.
the one calm and collected during his explosion.
Explosive behavior.
Yeah.
But I had just spoken about brain explosions. That was a brain explosion. But you know what's also intriguing? We are living in a time where it's so challenging to be consistently aware and constantly aware about what's happening with the person that's talking to us, because there are so many other things demanding our attention.
Man, you know, I heard a funny thing from another podcast. Basically, women say that men are selective. They have selective hearing. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
That podcast, their response, Mr. Crane, listen to this. I need you to be attentive. You're not being a good listener.
I was just focused on him.
Okay, focus on me.
We need that camera here.
I'm the one storytelling.
Sorry, we need that camera
Just
because
straight at Halbuni.
it would have done. No. Let's not go there, because the listeners would have understood why I just fixated towards him. But anyway,
That's what I'm saying.
The
We need a
podcast.
camera just for him.
yeah.
Anyhow, that's future goals, cameras. Basically, they said men are not selective hearers, but they are so good at focusing on a certain thing, they don't hear other stuff. So if your wife sits there, asks you a question about something, but you're so focused on something else, so that was their response. So
That links
men
to
are
this
not-
point.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's why I mentioned it.
No, perfectly. That's right. but
But do you consider yourself a selective hearer?
yes,
Yes, for sure. If he was gonna say no, I was
I
gonna
think
drop
we're
my
both
mic.
all gonna jump on him.
absolutely. And very often I respond very vaguely because not everyone needs to know about my life.
Yeah,
I think you misconstrued what he was
That's-
trying
No,
to
no,
say.
but
for
I'm
sure.
bringing up this point.
Oh no, he's a selective answerer.
Yeah,
And Hira.
but he's
No, and
saying
Hira,
that
I
you're a
assume-
selective listener. Basically, someone's professing their issues to you, and you choose not to listen.
Yeah,
I do.
but what I mean by
Sometimes
selective
I
hearer,
do.
like let's say your mum asked you, Mustafa, can you do so and so?
Take out the rubbish.
10 minutes later, she goes to you, I told you to take out, for example, the rubbish. No, you didn't. You
No, I won't lie
You
like
told
that.
me, no, not lie.
Oh.
You sincerely thought so because you misheard it. And
Because you were
this is-
selectively listening to
Well,
your phone, for
I
example.
thought you meant, for example, certain people they're telling me about their problems.
No. Selective hearing, again, you've been asked to do something, but you don't do it at all, or you do something
Well, even
completely
you're
different.
being told something. Someone's expressing something.
And
Someone's
you pick out from the
explaining
sentence what you
something.
want, and you leave out what you
I-
naturally
but
don't like.
I do that on purpose. Often, I'll tell you why.
So you're not a selective hearer. You're doing it purposefully.
Yeah, I'll tell you why. Imagine someone.
right? Or,
Yeah. Imagine someone's talking to you about their problems,
yeah.
and you've tried time and time and time and time to help them, and they say, "Yep, you're right. That's it. That's what I'm going
Done.
to do." Then they come back and they fall into the same hole. You know what happens to me? Because I love that person, I listen,
Yeah.
but I'm selectively listening to what I want to listen to.
Can I
no.
say?
That means you're actively not listening.
No, but as he was saying
Some-
before,
No,
Yeah.
a selective listener is different.
No.
Selective hearing.
Yeah,
Selective
it's
hearing
different. It's a different.
is a
understanding.
term that describes, okay, I'm having a conversation with you, yeah, and you're busy doing other things at the same time, not on purpose,
I'm
but
multitasking.
you're trying to multitask.
You just-
During this time,
you're picking it. Like,
there might be certain statements
That
that
come
will
out to
catch
you.
your attention,
yeah.
and then you respond to those statements. But I might be saying other things, and they're important to me, but because they don't grasp your attention, you don't
You don't
respond
care.
to them.
No.
That's selective hearing because it's done unconsciously.
I'm talking
It's done instinctively.
when it's done consciously.
That's different.
It's not
because
selective.
you
You
don't
don't
want-
selective hearing still.
You don't want to
Not
shut.
that what I understand from selective hearing is you hear what you want to hear and you don't hear what you don't want to hear, or basically
think
what
that-
what your nature tends.
But
leans
some
towards.
people take that out of context and they make it as if when people are having arguments, they only pick on the points.
But it could. I think.
Yeah.
I think it's a broad statement. Selective hearing. I don't think it's.
We have to look at
And
the
I think
the root of the word and the
Kramer's on
statement.
it.
Are you onto it? Selective hearing as a, but look at it as a
I'm not going to say this word. Selective auditory attention.
Yeah, look at it as a scientific term. That's what I was going to say.
It's the ability to listen to a single speaker while in a crowded or loud environment. You might also hear it referred to as selective, or whatever he just mentioned, or the cocktail party effect. Cocktail party effect.
That sounds like the rugby league player who took a cocktail of steroids.
Oh man, no.
And they announced it on the eve of the relaunch of NRL.
How old did you say he was? 19.
19.
Yeah.
But the poor fella had a shoulder knee reconstruction at 19. Shoulder reconstruction, sorry, at 19, and
So-
he was trying to recover.
So he's trying to recover out of the shore. That
Yeah.
was what the cocktail steroids was.
And
for.
what's hard with that guy, even though I'm not promoting performance enhancing drugs in a professional sport,
No.
but what's hard for him, he was tipped off. So ASADA, which is the agency, the governing body agency, which I paid to do the tests, they were tipped off by an outsider. So one of his friends that's not
Man,
involved in it. No,
Against the Shea, not
Not
because-
everyone's your friend.
Yeah, just because they're your friends. That it could be, man, but could have been a moment of jealousy.
Maybe
tipped him off.
he was upset because he wasn't listening to his problems.
He wasn't a good
So-
listener.
So he went ruined his career.
but imagine his mental state. 19 years,
Yeah,
he was
it must be
selected
a
as a
bit
future
upsetting.
representative star.
Alright.
Yeah.
Selective hearing refers to when a person appears to only hear what is important to them.
Yeah, that's what we're discussing.
Yeah.
But it appears, so
Appears, yeah.
maybe there's an underlying message there.
whatever
but
it is.
Regardless, I was really, really happy with how so many people interacted with with last week's
No
podcast.
did.
Honestly, it was exciting to hear people's feedback. It was exciting to hear people's perspective on love, and whether or not they thought love was a choice.
But-
And I do want our listeners to give us more feedback about all of our podcasts. Why not? It's good to hear. And you know what? I'm waiting for one of our listeners to give us a topic. Where are you, listeners?
Where are you?
What topics do you want us to discuss?
Are you listening to us?
Throw it on him. Let him ask our listeners.
Look at him
Ask your fans. Go, not your listeners, because since you have fans,
on,
ask
his,
them.
on his podcast.
I'm just dumbfounded by this openness that you have.
Why not? It's a podcast, man.
That's 3 times tonight.
I think that's
Three.
actually
That's
5.
a hat trick.
Look,
A hat trick.
What's a hat trick? What's wrong with you today?
A hat trick is
yeah,
when.
but you said 5 times.
No, he said 5. I said 3. Selective hearing.
No, he said 5.
I said 3. You said
Yeah,
I
but
said
5. That means I said it 5 times.
But you,
Then you replied
It's a
hat trick.
straight tennis game. Bang, bang.
hey, speaking of tennis, when's it coming back?
I don't care for tennis, man. You're one of the only few people in this area, in
No.
this postcode, to care about
No.
tennis.
Look, this is what I'm going to tell the people.
What are you going to tell him?
Okay, I'm going to stare down the barrel of that camera.
Shoot it.
And there's going to be over 1,000 people who will watch this. And I ask you, and I urge
Is he going to
you,
pay for it?
I ask you and I urge you to DM the short sticks. We aren't pleading for you to get into our DMs, but share with us your honest response on today's show. Forget the love show. That's gone.
It's gone.
Today's show. What do you think? Are you
But
Team
don't you
Craig?
think they should listen to the love show before they listen to this show if they haven't?
If they haven't, of course. But
Because this video might spark their attention and have them listen to this podcast.
and this video also portrays how you just cut me off 3 times.
I cut you off once.
He cuts him off all the time.
Or
Thanks, guys.
listeners,
Thank you. It's evident on the podcast who cuts who off. It's
Most.
evident. We see it.
we do talk over each
He
other a lot.
blames me. He blames me
Wait, did
for
you
the
hear?
mishap
did
of
you hear
me
that
cutting him
sigh?
off once. See, he just cut me off.
Did you hear that sigh?
Plain and
I'm
simple.
sighing because I have to suffer every time
He
we
loves
record a podcast. I have to suffer like this.
Look, you can't throw 15 years of friendship
No, you can't.
and hours of talking, hours upon hours, and him being an effective listener. And if you've just heard this show, you'd know exactly what I'm talking about.